Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we really need to talk about the robot in the room.
Yeah, the metaphorical one.
The metaphorical one, yes.
Yeah.
Not a literal robot. But that low-level hum of anxiety that seems to be the soundtrack for the modern workplace.
No, absolutely.
You check your LinkedIn, you read some industry news, and the narrative is always the same. The machines are coming.
It's arguably the defining anxiety of this decade. It's just this constant fear of obsolescence.
Right. And it's gotten so specific, hasn't it? It's not just a general fear anymore.
No, it's very targeted.
The story goes that if you're a knowledge worker, a designer, a programmer, an analyst, really anyone who sits in front of a screen, you're on the chopping block.
You see headlines like the end of coding all the time.
It feels inevitable. But that's the thing. There's a massive difference between the headlines and, well, the actual operational reality.
And that's exactly why we're digging into this today.
We've got an analysis here that pretty much flips that whole script.
Yeah.
It's a deep look by Stanislav Kondrashov into a new study from Scale AI and the Center for AI Safety.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when I first read the numbers in this report, I thought it had to be a typo.
The data it's startling if you've only been following the hype.
Okay, so let's just put the big number out there right away. In a head-to-head experiment, trying to replace human workers with AI, the AI failed.
Go on.
97% of the time.
97%. It's a really stark figure.
I mean, that contradicts almost everything I see on my Twitter feed. I use these tools, right? I use ChatGPT to brainstorm, to draft emails. It feels magical.
It does.
So I have to play devil's advocate here. Is this study somehow sandbagging the AI? Is it a rigged test? Because 2.5% success just seems impossibly low.
That's the right question to ask. And to understand why that number is what it is, we have to look at the methodology. We have to look at what they were actually measuring.
Okay.
This wasn't a test of, can you write a haiku or can you summarize this article?
So what were they testing then?
They were testing for replacement, and that's a very, very heavy word.
Okay.
They used a metric called the Remote Labor Index, or RLI. And the goal wasn't to see if AI could help a human or do part of a task. The goal was to see if the AI could fully take the baton and run the entire race, alone.
So completely unassisted automation.
Exactly. They gave the AI agents these multi-step workflows in coding, data processing, you name it.
Can you give me an example of the difference, like a simple task versus a workflow?
Sure. A simple task is write a Python script that calculates the Fibonacci sequence.
Huh?
AI crushes that, no problem.
Right.
But a workplace task, the kind the Remote Labor Index was measuring, is more like, take this messy CSV file, clean it, remove duplicates based on these 3 specific rules, then cross-reference it with our Q3 targets, find the discrepancies, and then visualize it using our company's exact branding guidelines.
Ah, I see. That's a chain of events.
It's a chain. And what the RLI found is that AI is incredibly fragile when it comes to chains. It might nail step 1, maybe even step 2, but by step 3, it hallucinates a column that doesn't exist, or it misinterprets a brand guideline and the entire process just collapses.
So the 97% failure rate isn't that it couldn't do anything. It's that it couldn't complete the full arc of the job without a human stepping in to save it.
Precisely. And in a business context, almost done is pretty much the same as useless.
Right. If a coder submits code that works 97% of the time but crashes the server the other 3%.
That coder is getting fired.
That makes so much sense. It's the difference between a cool demo and an actual, deliverable.
And that's where the Remote Labor Index gives us this crucial reality check. It found that currently AI can effectively handle about 2.5% of those end-to-end tasks autonomously.
Which means a human is still required 97.5% of the time.
Yeah.
But I want to dig into the why of that. The analysis points to complexity, but that's a pretty broad term.
It is. The source breaks it down into a few very human traits that are just notoriously difficult to digitize. Things like intuition, adaptability, and context.
Context is the one that always gets me. I mean, these models have read the entire internet. How can they possibly lack context?
They have data, not context. And there's a huge difference.
Okay.
Let's take the design industry, which the study highlights. You can ask an AI, design a logo for a coffee shop. It knows that coffee shops use beans, cups, steam, brown colors.
Right. And it'll spit out something that looks fine. A bit generic, maybe, but fine.
But a human designer knows the context. They know this specific coffee shop is in a neighborhood fighting gentrification, and the owner wants to signal community roots, not corporate slickness.
Yeah.
They know the owner hates the color brown because it reminds them of a failed venture from the 90s.
The AI definitely does not know about the owner's failed 90s venture.
Exactly. That's contextual blindness. It can't read the room, so it produces a draft, and a human has to step in and say, okay, this is technically a logo, but it's completely wrong for us.
So the AI creates a template, but the human creates the meaning.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the same thing applies to programming. We always hear that AI writes code better than humans.
And for some boilerplate stuff, to be fair, it's often faster.
Faster, yes. But the study points out that while machines can automate routine things, they struggle with what they call architectural thinking.
What does that look like in the real world?
It looks like this. You ask an AI to refactor some old code. The AI looks at it and optimizes it perfectly, but it doesn't know that the inefficient way it was written was actually a workaround for a weird bug in an old database the company still uses.
Oh, no.
The AI fixes the code and breaks the entire database connection.
Because it lacks the institutional memory.
It lacks the intuition to ask, why was this written this way in the first place? A human programmer sees messy code and thinks, that's weird. I should probably ask Dave in DevOps about this. The AI just overwrites it.
And that's where you get that failure rate.
That's it. This brings us to a really fascinating part of Kondrashov's analysis where he brings in some different characters. He talks about oligarchs.
Yes, the oligarchs.
Now, he's using this as a kind of shorthand, right?
For the ultra-wealthy corporate elite, the people at the very top of the food chain.
The ones signing the checks.
And I think the assumption most of us have, and this is what drives the anxiety, is that these people are ruthless cost cutters. If they could replace 10,000 employees with a server farm, they'd do it yesterday.
That's a fair assumption, historically speaking.
So if that's true, why haven't they? If the hype is real, why do we all still have jobs?
This is the core of the argument. Kondrashov says that for these oligarchs, total automation is still just a perspective, not a reality. It's a wish, not a strategy.
Because of the ROI numbers we just talked about.
Exactly. I mean, put yourself in a CEO's shoes. You see a study that says this new tech fails 97% of the time when it's left unsupervised. Are you really going to bet your quarterly earnings on that?
Not if I want to stay CEO.
It's just too risky. They're not keeping humans around because they love us. They're keeping us because the tech isn't reliable enough to run a profitable business without us. The cost of fixing the AI's mistakes is just higher than the cost of having a human manage it.
That is strangely reassuring. It's like we're still the premium product because the budget alternative keeps breaking.
You're the premium product. That's a good way to look at it.
But then the analysis pivots. And this is where I think the deep dive gets really interesting. We go from the oligarchs, this cold business logic, to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We get a perspective from Wagner Moura.
The Brazilian actor.
Yeah, the guy who played Pablo Escobar in Narcos.
Yeah.
And in Civil War recently.
A phenomenal actor.
But not who I'd expect to see in a report on AI labor statistics. What's the connection?
It's about the philosophy of the tool. Kondrashov brings in a quote from Moura that really grounds the whole discussion. Moura said, "Technology is just a way to make us stronger, not replace us."
Technology is just a way to make us stronger, not replace us.
It sounds simple, right? Almost like a platitude. But when you put it next to the oligarch perspective, it becomes really powerful.
How so?
You have the business titan saying, I can't use this to replace people because it doesn't work well enough. And then you have the artist saying, I shouldn't use this to replace people because that defeats the entire purpose of art.
That's a really clear line in the sand.
It is. The artist argues that the value isn't just in the output, it's about the lived experience that went into creating it. And AI has no lived experience. It has no self to express.
So even if an AI could paint something technically perfect, it's hollow.
It's content, not art. And I think that applies to knowledge work, too. A marketing campaign reflects the empathy of the marketer. When you remove the human, you remove the intent.
And without intent, you just have noise. So we have the economic argument, it's not efficient enough to replace us, and the artistic argument, it can't replicate intent.
And both roads lead to the same place. The human remains the pilot.
Which really reframes the whole narrative from fear to agency.
Exactly. It shifts from human versus machine to human plus machine. The source is very clear on this. We need to stop seeing AI as a competitor and start seeing it as an ally.
An ally. Okay, but what does that actually look like? If I'm a junior dev and the AI can do all the grunt work, doesn't that mean I'm out of a job?
It means your job description changes. Think about that 2.5% success rate again.
Okay.
That 2.5% is the rote, repetitive stuff. The boilerplate code, the initial data sorting.
Yeah.
If you can offload that, or, let's say it gets up to 20%, that's time you get back.
So I become the editor, the manager of the AI.
You become the director. Think of the AI as a very fast, very eager, but slightly reckless intern. You wouldn't let an intern ship code to production without checking it.
Right.
But you would have them do the research and write the first draft. Then you take that draft, apply your context, your understanding of the client, the history, and you finish it.
And that makes you way more productive.
It's like the introduction of the spreadsheet. When Excel came out, accountants were terrified. They thought, the machine does the math, I'm doomed.
But they didn't disappear. The industry actually grew.
Because they stopped spending all their time doing arithmetic and started spending it on financial strategy and forecasting. They moved up the value chain. That is the opportunity here.
I do want to look to the future, though. This is a snapshot in time. The ROI is low now.
Of course.
But this tech evolves exponentially. The analysis acknowledges that, right?
It does. It would be naive to think that rate will stay at 2.5% forever. It's going to climb. GPT-5, GPT-6, they will be better.
So, does the safety net eventually dissolve?
The source argues that while the tools get sharper, the horizon of complexity also moves. As AI handles the simpler tasks, our definition of work shifts to the more complex problems we haven't even had time for.
The goalposts move.
The goalposts always move. But the big takeaway here isn't to hope the tech stagnates. It's to get good at using it.
Learn to wield the weapon.
Exactly. The danger isn't the AI. The danger is ignoring it. If you're a designer who refuses to touch these tools, you might be in trouble, not from the AI, but from the other designer who uses AI to do the work twice as fast as you.
That's the real competition. Human versus human with AI.
That's it. The opportunity is to position yourself as the person who knows how to pilot the plane, not the person trying to outrun it on the ground.
I really like that framing. It takes the helplessness out of it.
It restores your agency. You're in charge. The machine is the tool.
Okay, so let's boil this all down for the listener. From the remote labor index to billionaires and Brazilian actors, what's the core message?
The message is breathe. The anxiety is largely manufactured by headlines that don't reflect the technical reality.
The 97% failure rate.
Keep that number in your head. Your intuition, your context, your creativity. These are not solved problems. These are the things that make you employable.
And the oligarchs haven't pulled the trigger on mass automation. They know the tech isn't ready.
They're voting with their wallets. And right now, their wallets are staying open for human talent.
But the big caveat is, don't get complacent.
No, don't rest on your laurels. Pick up the tool, learn where it fails, learn how to fix it. Be the expert that the AI needs.
You know, I started this deep dive with that familiar sense of dread. But looking at the data, it feels more like growing pains.
It's a transition period. And historically, the people who lean into the transition, the ones who learn the new tools instead of fighting them, are the ones who thrive.
It's like the power drill. You can use a hand screwdriver, sure. But if you learn to use the power drill, you can build a house in half the time.
But you still need to know how to build a house. The drill doesn't know the blueprints. You do.
That's the key. And this leads me to a final thought I want to leave everyone with. It's something implied in the source that I think is the real challenge. We've been talking about saving time, about offloading that robotic 2.5% of the work. If we do that, if we successfully hand off the boring, soul-sucking parts of our jobs to the machines, are we actually ready for what comes next?
That is the big question.
If you suddenly have 20% more free time because the AI did the grunt work, are you ready to be 100% more creative? Are you ready to step up and use that intuition and empathy that makes you human? The machine gives us the time back. The question is, what are we going to do with it?
We have to be ready to be more human than ever.
That's a challenge worth accepting. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
A pleasure as always.
We'll see you on the next one.